Welcome to. Got it. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Faversham Town Council Planning Committee on the 20th of September. The Mayor will allow a maximum of 15 minutes for members of the council to receive questions. Do we have any questions from the public? Mr. Oswald-Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Not a question. I sent an email out, so I'd just like to address that, if that's okay.
Right.
To clerk and a deputy clerk and most of the regular planning committee. It's just that I make personal recommendations for your committee to consider certain applications later on during the agenda, specifically 60 South Road. I would suggest complete removal of leyland is a good thing, and I would suggest that your committee may want to consider actual support. That's for you guys to decide, of course.
Thank you.
On the Fighting Cocks Cottage down Abbey Street, Pruna Mulberry. Again, I would like to suggest that you might consider supporting that.
I would think so.
It's a re-prune of a previous 2018 from memory, previous prune. And the last one, West Street, the bottom premises down by the pedestrian crossing. You may remember it as a sort of pink colour Anna Rhodes shop at one point, going back about 25 years. 102 to 103 West Street. The agent is Peter Bell, your former Faversham Town Council planning advisor. So I'm sure he's got our best interests at heart. So what I wrote was... when
was he the planning advisor?
Probably before your time.
Right.
He was for many years going to retire, and for about 15 years he didn't retire, but eventually did. Louise would have the full date when he actually retired.
But we'll take it, he still knows what he's talking about. Okay.
I think so. He has the town council.
Before John Sell?
Who?
John Sell?
Steve Besant was also.
Sorry, I've got that wrong. It's John Sell.
Yeah.
Peter, no, Pete. I've got that wrong. The agent is Peter Bell, but the former town council planning advisor was
John Sell.
John Sell.
Yeah. I've got that wrong. But
fine.
My suggestion is I consider that the replacement door would be an enhancement to this listed building.
I agree.
And an improvement to the character and appearance within the conservation area. So again, you may like to consider supporting that.
Thank you.
I must research where I got that erroneous information from in my brain. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
You do lots of research. Well done. We're grateful. Thank you. So we are recording this meeting.
Councillor Williams is asking a question.
Oh, Councillor Williams.
There's not much of a question. This question as such. I just to come back on Mr. Oswald-Jones's his comments and just in general to thank him for the regular Plan Watch updates. It's always very useful because it's planning is always a big thing. So just as a thank you for that.
Thank you. Right. No other questions. We can move on to the agenda. Apologies for absence.
Apologies received from councillors Kavanagh, Rowlands and Hook.
Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Do we have any? Councillor Williams.
Thank you. The application 21504755 TCA, the Fighting Cocks Cottage, that is the applicant is my bookkeeper. So at work, so I think I should declare an interest there, and clearly I won't vote on that.
Fine, thank you. Any other? No? So we can move on to item 3, to receive and accept the minutes of the previous meeting on the 6th of September. Does anyone have any issues? They look fairly straightforward to me. Have we got someone, councillor Martin?
I propose that we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Williams. And can we all vote to accept those minutes? Thank you. Item 4, to receive the planning schedule dated the 6th of September. Again, I didn't see any obvious issues. Any comments on those, on the schedule?
Propose we accept those.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder to
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
councillor Williams? Thank you. And we'll all vote. Right, thank you very much. And item 5, to consider and make representation to the relevant authorities on planning applications contained in the enclosed list dated the 20th of September. Item 1 is 2050-0015 out, land at Abbeyfield. Oh no, maybe I've got the wrong page. Right here. We normally start with the trees, don't we? Sorry, can we go back? Start with 2150-4660 TCA, 32 Offspring Street, Faversham, conservation area, notification, flowering cherry trees, crown reduction as shown on tree plan. Councillor Williams, can I ask you to comment on that
I
one?
can do if everyone's happy for me to. I would propose no objection. It seems fairly reasonable given the location of the tree.
Any other comments? Councillor Perkin.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Can we all vote then to accept that? Great, thank you. 2150-4662 TCA, 60 South Road. Conservation area notification, old lilac tree that's approximately 20 foot in height, creating a lot of shade in the garden and neighbours, whilst also a lot of unwanted mess needs to be removed to create new bushes in its place. Again, have we got Councillor Williams?
Councillor Martin, do you want to come in on that?
Who was that?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm of the opinion of Mr. Oswald Jones's comments earlier about support, because I think the problem, looking at the pictures of that tree, it's Lalandia are a troublesome tree in the wrong position. I mean, clearly, well, I'm quite prejudiced. I don't really. I'm not a big fan of them at all. No. But clearly, where it is, it's going to cause problems, and I think the suitable planting they're going to put in is probably going to be better. So I would suggest we support the application.
Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I'd second that. I think it's. I myself am not a great fan of the land. They are not a native species, and anything we can do to increase biodiversity by putting in, taking them out and putting in native planting is far better. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we put that? No? Can we vote on that then? Thank you. 2150-4755 TCA, Fighting Cocks Cottage, Abbey Place. Conservation area notification. Large mulberry tree in centre of rear garden has grown since last pruned in 2018. Reduce the height from 7 to 5 metres and reduce the width from 5 to 3.5 to increase light and keep tree healthy. Councillor Perkin.
I'm happy to propose that we support this application.
Any other comments? Councillor Martin.
I'm happy to second that proposal.
Thank you. Anyone else with comments? No. Can we vote on that then? We all accept that. Thank you. 2150 4846 TCA 24 Ospringe Place. Conservation area notification to reduce the crown of one Deodar cedar to radio spread of 8 metres. Any comments on that one? Councillor Williams.
Thank you. This is quite an interesting tree because they're not that common. I would propose no objection, but I would like to make the comment that that they take the advice of the professional to maintain the shape, because they are a tree of quite a unique shape. So because of the size of the tree, I think it'd be a shame for it to be damaged or spoiled by inappropriate action taken. So I think I think I'd say I would propose no objection if the correct and professional work is undertaken.
Thank you. Any comments on that? Councillor Martin?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I think it's an unusual tree, so as long as it maintains its shape through that, I would second the no objection.
Thank you. No other comments? Could we vote on that? I think everyone's voting.
Councillor Martin seconding there.
Yes, Councillor Martin
Yeah,
second,
thanks.
and the rest of us did all vote. 2150 4850 TCA St John the Evangelist Church Road, the Brents. Conservation area notification G1 ASA sycamore, approximate seven self-sown trees growing on the rear boundary through the stock fence to fell these to or close to the ground level. Again, Councillor William, or hang on, no, we've got 2 ASA sycamore, large, yeah, located in the rear garden in the left-hand side corner to crown lift this tree over the parking area, I think, up to a height of 7 metres. Yeah, removing the lowest branch over the car park and the small one to the left. Councillor Williams.
Sorry, I'm hogging these, aren't I? But
Yeah.
I find them of interest. I mean,
Speciality.
yeah, the felling in these trees, it seems quite drastic, but actually they're self-sown trees, and I know that area where that church is, there's quite a lot of tree cover there already, and I think it's probably not a bad thing to do. So I'd propose no objection.
Any other comments? Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the proposals, they're not too drastic. To maintain the fence, you've got to close down, I think. So I would second the no objection to both bits of that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Right, could we vote on that? Thank you. 2150 4849 TCA, the Sun Inn, 10 West Street. Conservation area notification to crown lift 1 fig tree, I think, to 3 metres above ground level. Reduce the height of 1 common holly to 10 metres. Councillor Williams.
Thank you. I think this is work that needs to be done. The trees are very close to the building. I think it's going to cause problems with the building itself. So I would propose no objection.
Thank you. Councillor Irwin.
Yeah, I just got a comment on this rather than firstly, I can't tell a tree from a bush, right? They all look the same to me. But having been in the garden just last week, I noticed that they'd already undertaken a significant amount of work in removing bushes, trees, or whatever. And I just think it would be worthwhile the council checking that they haven't proceeded with the work prior to approval, or indeed they haven't done any work that should require approval and hasn't been done. So I just think we should note that
Yeah.
there appears to be a lot of garden work has been done in there. And my concern is that they've proceeded without appropriate approvals, and they should know better if that is the case.
Thank you. So we're Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Yeah, I looking at the plans for these that have been put in, I concur that where they may be affecting listed buildings, I think we should just say no objection on this one. But I agree with Councillor Irwin's comments that it may be worth the tree officer having a look and making sure that other items that should have come to planning happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? No, so we're happy with that. Can we vote on that? Yeah. Thank you. 2050-0015 out. Land at Abbey Fields. Outline application for the development of up to 180 dwellings with associated infrastructure, including internal access roads, footpaths, cycleways, parking, open space and landscaping, drainage, utilities and service infrastructure works. All matters reserved except access. Crucial. Have we got any comments on this application? Councillor Martin. It's crucial.
Thank you. First of all, I think I've got about 20 points on this one. So
Yeah.
forgive me, I will actually look at some notes.
Yeah.
First of all, the site's not allocated in the local plan, which I believe we've said in previous comments. It's in contravention of DM31, in that it's grade 2 agricultural land.
Yes.
It's in contravention of ST3, because it's outside of the built-up area of the town.
Yeah.
It's in contravention of DM21 because of the flood risk, and it will cause significant damage to the northeast of Faversham, so it's in contravention of ST1 paragraph 12. All of those are as per the current local plan, bearing fruits. It's very close to a triple SI and Ramsar site, and I think it will have a negative impact on those. There will be additional traffic, which is harmful to the existing residents of Abbey Fields in particular, and possibly the Millfield estate. The harmful impact on the setting of listed buildings in the form of the Abbey Barns, and the same for the conservation area, and possibly even the scheduled ancient monument of the Abbey. It's not in keeping with the street scene because the street scene is a rural setting. It has an impact on the visual amenity, has an impact on residential amenity because of the views from Abbey Fields and Abbots Road. On the environment, it has an impact on the marshland and hedgerows, and has a negative impact on wildlife conservation. It's the sewage infrastructure has not been taken into account, and we already know that in that particular area, the current sewage infrastructure is very strained. In fact, it's been flooded twice in the last month. That's the first bit. The other ones are, I think, I would support the comments of both CPR, the CPRE and the Faversham Society on this one.
Agreed.
And there is one thing that hasn't been commented on at all, because I believe the reports are not available yet, but I think it could even have an effect on the Roman remains in the area. There are some just across the road from this that have been dug, and preliminary reports can't even tell exactly what it is because it's so big. So if it's that big, it may well require a full archaeological survey before work starts. That would be my comments on it. I think that's a plenty.
I think that's quite a comprehensive list there. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Perkin.
won't go on too long because I've written what is quite an extensive objection to this proposal on the portal already. And this is probably the 4th time that it's come before Faversham Town Council Planning Committee now, maybe 3 or 4. Anyway, essentially looking at the kind of revised plans, I think that there's obviously been some improvement to net gain around biodiversity, but they're still only really aiming at 10%. And I know that during the discussions with the neighbourhood plan and with the local plan as well, we'd like to see that at 20% as a minimum. I know that they've put some effort into preserving the views that were picked up last time that we spoke about this, but it's still, in my opinion, something that would interrupt what is one of our key agricultural views into the town from that side of the town. I think that we shouldn't underestimate the importance of the Clapgate Springs and the chalk bed streams that we have in Faversham. They're incredibly rare biodiversity areas, and something that we don't really want to risk upsetting for more houses. Now, Faversham is about to see a significant amount of development, I think it's fair to say, and it's not, this isn't allocated as part of any of those development plans. It was rejected at SLA stage of the local plan. It's not been put in by the neighbourhood plan. Faversham can succeed in putting forward its housing target without it, so it's not like we desperately need those 180 extra houses. Recently there's been some discussion around the lack of a 5-year land supply, but there was a recent court case where it was stated that the absence of a 5-year housing supply is not an overriding problem, and it doesn't take precedent over other objections. So I think, to be honest, in conclusion, the development in itself is not a bad development. I think it's taken into account a lot of things which we would like to see as a council, in that it's got lots of good connectivity, it's got good green spaces, it's got well thought out planning, but it's in the wrong place, and we don't need a development there. I've written huge amounts about it. I don't need to kind of go into that any further, but wholeheartedly object to the proposal as it stands. And I think I would propose that we object.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Any other councillor like to come in? Councillor Williams?
Thank you. I'm not. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I won't say all those again, but I find this very frustrating, because I find that the whole notion of building here is just a pure kind of opportunity to kind of make some money from a piece of land just because it happens to be next to other housing estates. It's completely ridiculous that housing is proposed to be put here in an area where not only is it going to potentially be underwater or flood in years to come because of climate change. I mean, most of Faversham is probably into that situation, but particularly building nearer the waterways is just is stupid. But secondly, you're grabbing a vital green space that actually many people in the community actually value. And I know that field is privately owned, but in terms of the views and the access to open space is really important. I know this isn't a material consideration, but we've got to face the fact that all traffic from that, not only the building but also the people that will live there, will have to come down Abbeyfields Road. Abbeyfields Road is shocking, in a bad state of repair, and mainly because it's not an adopted road, and the likelihood of it becoming an adopted road is probably quite slim. And so therefore we've got to consider the fact that the residents of Abbeyfields Road have yet again got to put up with things out of their control and either be footed with a bill of repair, or they're just going to have to put up with the potholes and the noise and the congestion, let alone what's going to happen on Whitstable Road, the pollution. It's adding to multiple problems that are only going to make it much worse. So I I agree with the proposal to object. I think if anything, we could even put strongly object. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Irwin.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add. I know the objections have been well documented, so there's no point in sort of going through them again. I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Perkins said on behalf of the Neighbourhood Planning Group. We used our specialist agency to assess the site, ACOM, to actually put forward an objective assessment of the site, and they recommended that it shouldn't proceed. And I think their comments have already been highlighted in by some respondents to it. Just the other point as well that Councillor Perkin made, you know, it's quite clear from the work that we have done that actually there's sites for probably 300 plus houses or should I say homes within Faversham on brownfield sites without breaking into a new greenfield site. So it's completely unnecessary. And you know, I think to Councillor Williams' point, this development serves no one. You know, the landowner stroke promoter has failed to actually convince anyone of the worth of this. It's been rejected by the Neighbourhood Planning Group. It's been rejected by Swell. It's been rejected by neighbours. It's been rejected by CPRE. The list goes on, and all it comes down to ultimately is a desire to put profit before what people want in their neighbourhood. So I think we should object to it.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think that's quite comprehensive, really. So we have a proposer, a seconder. So could we vote on that? To object? Strongly object? Thank you. 2150, 2750, full, 18 Priory Row, insertion of drop curb and creation of, I think that should be front parking area. I looked at that yesterday. I don't see any reason to object to that. I don't know if anyone else would like to comment. Councillor Saunders.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we should object to this. I read the application, and the applicant points out it's difficult to park on Priory Road because there are so many dropped curbs and parking in the front gardens, and this is just going to add to that problem. Although the look and feel of this, you know, historical row has already been significantly changed by all this kind of front of house parking. Yeah. I don't think we should be supporting adding to it. It involves knocking down an existing historical wall, and it will kind of add to spoiling the look and feel of the whole row, which is, you know, is very important historically in relation to the town. So personally, I feel we as a town council should object to this kind of removal of a front garden, replaced by parking in the what was the front garden, and the removal of historical brick wall. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perkin.
Obviously, I don't know the reasons why this particular application has come forward, but I think that obviously losing any kind of natural amenity is regrettable. But having said that, often these kind of applications are to support someone who is either getting a little bit older and wants to remain in their house, or someone that has an element of disability. And I think that's it's difficult for me to object to something that could keep someone in their home, because with the amount, with the lack of housing that's available in Faversham at the moment, I think that if someone, we put a lot of effort into making sure people are able to stay in their home as independently as possible for as long as possible. And if this means that that person can do that, then I think we should think about that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit torn with this because I know we've had one come up a little while ago, and I think we
had one in June for 9 Priory Road,
No.
which we actually supported.
So that's what I was going to say. I mean, clearly. So I wrote some notes on this because I was looking at the kind of the impact on things like what hard surfaces are going to bring to the area and using the front gardens, etc. And I know that we obviously supported that application, and there are significant other driveways. So it's very hard to make that balance between where there's been a precedent already set and then changing the direction. But I kind of agree with both points. That I agree with what Councillor Saunders said in terms of the removal of the wall and the historic nature of the road, and I do agree with the fact that it could be for reasons that could be beneficial for the person that lives there. So I think, to be honest, I'm probably going to abstain because I can't actually make a decision, basically.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Yeah, whilst I can understand and in some ways have a lot of empathy with Councillor Saunders's comments, I'm afraid I will have to vote to say no objection to this particular proposal. I think the precedent has already been set in that area, as has been noted by others. I think the heritage impact statement does actually suggest that they're going to recreate a replica of the few party walls that are there. And looking at the drawings, that does seem fairly sensible. So I'm going to propose no objection on this one.
Thank you. Anyone else with any comments? Councillor Irwin.
You're muted, Councillor Roman.
Sorry, I was just going to say I'm with Councillor Saunders on this one. It is within the conservation area, and I think we have conservation areas and for a purpose, and we should take them seriously. I think it will have an impact. I also think that putting in concrete driveways is something we shouldn't support. I think everyone recognises that putting in permeable driveways is much preferable, and I think we've actually got an application coming up which proposes that type of solution. So, on that basis, I can't support it.
Thank you. So, shall we vote on the?
Well, I think we've got Trevor Martin proposing no objection.
And I would second that.
Okay, then take a vote on that then.
Can we take a vote on that then? Who's going to vote no objection?
So that's just 2, I think, just Trevor.
Yes. And then.
So against the proposal? 1, 2, 3.
3.
So that would mean, okay, then does somebody else want to propose object then, or?
Yeah, can I propose we object then?
Seconder? Councillor Irwin, thank you. And do you want to take a vote again then? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And against should be 2. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right, 2150 3788 and full, and 2150 3789 LBC barn at 1 Queen Court, Water Lane, Ospringe. Conversion of the barn to create a 3-bedroom dwelling with hard and soft landscaping. This is revised details.
Actually, I looked at this and there isn't actually anything new since we did
No.
discuss it on the 6th, because their letter is dated the 10th, saying that revised details went on the 1st. So you should have seen everything
We've seen it.
last time.
And any comment? Councillor Saunders.
It's a question really, I suppose, to Adrian, because I wasn't at the last meeting, so I was quite interested to look at this proposal. There seemed to be a reasonably recent letter from a nearby resident concerned about the changes in the application, and I wasn't clear whether that related to the very recent changes. It was referencing to things like parking changes.
I didn't read that letter, I'm afraid.
No.
So I'm not sure which changes that would be referring to.
Councillor Perkin.
I wasn't at the last meeting, but I've followed it a little bit, and there is concern around parking being at the rear of the building and also some access onto Vicarage Street.
Yeah. Access and parking.
I don't think there's any new information since we last discussed this, so I don't think we need to discuss the application at this stage.
No, if there's no changes, as it stands. Yeah, thank you.
It was just a crossing when the notifications came out when I did the lists.
Right, thank you. We move on to 2150 4516 23 South Road, fitting of a larger window and French door to the rear of the property. Does anyone have any comments on this? Councillor Saunders.
Yeah, okay. I found that this a bit difficult to assess. So it felt like the proposal was definitely planning to be sympathetic to the existing house, which is obviously in a conservation area, and it felt as though all the changes were at the back of the house, and the putting in of things like French windows wouldn't be out of character with other backs of houses. The proposal seemed to be that the French doors were in some kind of form of ironwork, like critter window style. And I'm not proposing that we necessarily object, but I would like to be assured that the heritage officer is comfortable with what's being proposed, and that it fits generally with the feel of that part of the conservation area.
Thank you. Any other comments? So have we got a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Martin?
What is the proposal?
Well,
No.
the proposal is not that we object, but that we ask that the heritage officer
Yes. Looks at it.
looks closely at the application and is assured that it meets conservation area guidelines.
So no objection on condition, or
They look, yes.
Councillor, is that right, Councillor Saunders?
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
proposing an
Thank you.
objection. No.
Thank you. So have we got a seconder for that? Councillor Martin? And could we vote on that? No objection, but with that proviso. Thank you. 2150 4561 full 73 The Knoll. Part retrospective for the demolition of side garage and front porch, erection of rear conservatory, front porch and greenhouse to side, landscaping to front and rear garden, including creation of new front parking bay and widening of vehicle crossover. Any comments? Councillor Williams.
Thank you. I was I think the application or what they're intending to finish up at is there's a lot of thoughts gone into the works. It's a shame that it's coming up part retrospective, because that's kind of again, we've had these comments before, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to have less of an impact. I mean, obviously, clearly they're putting parking in. They're trying to look at the how that impacts on drainage and various other things and how it looks. The knoll is quite the area around the houses is generally quite spacious. So quite often particularly where this one's located, I don't think there's a great deal of impact on neighbours. So I personally didn't see any reason to object. So I would propose no objection unless anyone has anything to the contrary.
Any other comment? Councillor Martin?
Yeah, I would actually second that. I think when you look at the original drawings, certainly the front porch was of fairly modern construction, even though these buildings are relatively modern anyway. I just think no objection sounds the right thing to me, looking at the way that they have proposed the design. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Saunders?
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure there are grounds for objecting to this. I've got two concerns really. One is the replacement of the garage with this this kind of brick wall. Feels from a design point of view kind of slightly strange, but I think more significantly, I mean, I accept it wouldn't be out of character with the rest of the road to have a double parking bay, which I think is what they're proposing, but the actual width of the crossover seemed to extend into the neighbouring property. So I would be, I think, again, grateful if the officers could assure us that the vehicle crossover wasn't going to impact on other residents. I mean, there is more parking space there, and it's not an area where there are kind of heritage issues. But it did seem to be a particularly wide vehicle crossover, and I wasn't sure it needed to be as wide as it showed.
So we'd like you to check that. Okay. Right. So, Councillor Williams.
So I'm happy for that to be part of the proposal. If you're happy for it to be a no objection based on those comments, then I'm happy for that to be.
Thank you. I think Councillor Martin, are you happy to second that?
Yes, I'm still happy to second that. Thank you.
With that proviso, yeah. And could we all vote on that? Thank you. Got that, Adrian. 2150 4710 full and 2150 4711 full is 102-3 West Street. Replacement of glazed front door with solid front door. And Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I was going to say that this actually then makes the two doors look very similar, and it would actually, I think we should support this, because the glazed front door does look out of keep character with the rest of the building when the new one's in there. So I'm going to propose we support that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Or could we have a seconder to second that proposal? Councillor Williams, and could we all vote on that? Thank you. 2150 4790 full, 63 Bramley Avenue. Demolition of existing side elevation utility room, erection of new single-storey side and rear extensions. Any comments on that one? No comments? We all happy? Councillor Williams.
I propose no objection. It seems quite straightforward, and there's nothing. I can't see any reason to object.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Martin. We're all happy to vote on that. No objection. Thank you. 2150 4834 full 47 Ospringe Road, demolition of existing garage rebuilt and widened with single-storey side extension to main house, built over new garage with lift, internal alterations to existing house, new bin store at front of property adjacent to the garage, replacement railings to existing boundary wall, and new handrails to existing front steps. Any comments here? Councillor Saunders.
Okay, yeah, it's quite interesting. Something you walk past every day without really ever taking it in properly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is quite a big change, and I think it felt, reading the details, it was an interesting development. Ultimately, I couldn't see anything to object to. There is a bit of loss of green space, but it's removing what isn't a particularly attractive or good fit with the rest of the row of garage. And I think the new garage looks as though it will be more in keeping. It looked as though the new bit of the house was going to be built in a similar style. So I couldn't see any obvious reason as a layperson to object to this at this stage. But I'd be very interested to hear whether anyone else who looks at this regularly has got views.
Possibly Councillor Irwin, if he walks that way. Councillor Irwin.
I walk past it virtually daily, and I do agree that the current garages are quite unsightly, and it does look like a very interesting development, and I quite like the idea that it's supporting someone staying in their home, putting a lift in, and so on, because they do have very steep steps. So I think as a kind of principle, and it's quite a significant development. It's a huge extension in addition to a replacement garage, but I think there's certain elements of it that could be improved. The most obvious one to me is that they're taking quite a lot of care and making sure they match the brick styling, the brick color, the style of the bond, I think it's called. But then they're putting new PVC windows in, which I think again is a huge missed opportunity for essentially what is a new build, to put in things like I think a fake wooden door and new PVC windows. So I think firstly that's an area I think could be changed. What was quite interesting, I thought the extension itself is a match in style to the existing house. I think what was funny though, I was reading the design statement, it says that the appearance of the proposed garage is intended to improve upon the currently unsightly building, which is out of character, and replace it with a design more fitting to its environment. So I think it's fitting in terms of the materials used, but I can't help thinking it just looks like a box in front of, it still looks like a big box in front of the house. And I just wonder, and I don't know whether this is an appropriate reason to object to the design as it stands, but I really feel they could do something more with it. It's quite a prominent position, again, within the conservation area. So I think we should object to the plans as they stand. So, it's not an objection to the development of that area, but actually, I think the plans should and could be improved, not least taking into consideration its location within the conservation area.
Any other comments? Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Yeah, I must admit it was only the UPVC windows that I actually looked at and thought, maybe they're not in keeping. I don't think we could change much to do with the garage at the front. I will say I do like the design of the extension, particularly because it is in keeping with the street scene there, and actually would probably blend in very well at a later date. However, and the handrails and the lift, I think, brilliant. Anyway, but I would say I wouldn't object. I think I would say no objection, but amend to with a request that the materials for the windows and doors be looked at by the and perhaps changed, because I think that's what we're really saying, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it may be that the garage may require some similar changes to the bond to actually blend it in. The detail of if you look at the proposed front elevation, particularly, the bit I was looking at was the garage seems all brick, whereas there seems to be some bonded in stonework at the peripheries, and I wonder whether those lines could be continued. But that would be my only thought on it.
Yeah. So just really a point of I don't know what the procedure would be here, but you know, I think there's two routes, isn't there? There's not object but ask them to look at it, or do we object to the current plans and indicate they would welcome, you know, the submission of a revised plan. You know, making a revised plan isn't difficult, but that would be the area I think we should consider.
Would that be Adrienne?
We can do it either way. Councillor Saunders has his hand up.
Councillor Saunders.
I was going to support the latter suggestion from Councillor Irwin, that we object, but make it very clear that we're not objecting to the development. We're objecting to elements of it and asking that it's revised.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, if the garage married in on that front elevation, I think we'd all be much happier.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot. Even, I mean, it may even improve if you look at the lines from the windows down in the new section. It's that those lines almost need carrying through the garage to make it to blend it in even more. Would be my suggestion. But yeah, I'm quite happy to second the objection.
Second that. Are we happy with that, Adrian? You've got that we object, but
Yep.
Yeah.
So who's the seconder? And take a vote.
Councillor Martin, proposer, Councillor Saunders or Irwin, was it? Saunders.
Yeah.
Owen, I think.
Yeah,
Was it
I'd suggest we object and indicate they would welcome a revised plan,
Right.
specifically around the windows and doors, and to the points that Councillor Martin made regarding looking at the design of the garage itself.
Okay.
Are we all happy with that? Can we vote on that being the proposal that we put? Yeah. Thank you. Lovely. Great. Thank you. I think that is the last one of the evening. So thank you very much and good night, everyone. And those that are running to the neighbourhood meeting at the Guildhall, get your running shoes on. Okay. Yeah, see you there later. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.